All right, guys. We're live. Hi, guys. Right. So it's all been a bit of a rush to this morning. I have been a taxi driver. I am a taxi driver. Right. Let me just get my phone. I can see where I put it. 1 second. I'm just going to get my phone in a minute, guys. The dogs are going to keep us company. I think I left it in the car. 1 second, guys. Okay, right, we're back. We've got a phone. I need a charger. So at 2 o'clock, actually no, at 1 o'clock, we're going to a Christmas do. So I'm on my own. My son has just got back from football. So I've got just enough time, hopefully, to get this episode in of the Are You Lonesome tonight. I was going to read a couple more messages, then I was going to try and read chapter 5. So let me just. Now I do have permission to read it. So Kathy has sent me something. Well, Kathy, are you there? Watch this. It would be greatly to show defending Elvis Presley. Okay. And then the video is about a letter wrote. Hi, Kathy. I've only just opened your. Shall I play this? Let's give people a chance to join us. Yeah. How are you, Kathy? The video is about a letter Lucy wrote that she was getting lots of negativity regarding the book. The whole video is not all about the letter. It starts at 4 minutes 34. Right, I will play that. I think we'll give people a chance to join us. Yeah, I'm going to do that, Kathy. Thanks for helping me, by the way. That's very kind. Does Desiree know that we are doing this? The sun's making me look like a ghost again, as usual, but it doesn't matter. Does Desiree know we're doing this? Hi, Helen. Give my regards to Desiree, the author, and thank him for letting us read the book. So I don't have that long. You know, I reckon I've got 45 minutes. Yeah. So let me. I'm going to quickly message a few people to join us. So we've got a few more watching. But you know, a lot of people will watch this later. You know, a lot of people are waking up in America. So good morning to you guys waking up in America. And all around the world, and the British people, and the Australian people, and every other country. Hi, Helen. Let me quickly just message a couple of people, yeah? So we've got Angel, Songbird. Let's have a look. Now, many of you are busy. I've got busy lives, so I know you can't make it. I know Lucy and Tony love to. Lucy, both of you have sent me some nice comments. Hi, Tony. Let's tell Lucy. Josie. Now, YouTube should be letting us all know. Hi, Denise. I'm doing it's a bit of a triple video day today. I'm on it. I'm determined to get these little shorter episodes out, and then we go off. We're busy today. Let's have a look. Darlene and Jane. Oh, he won't mind. I'm sure he won't mind. I'll play it from minute 4. But how much? Obviously, I can't play too long because that's his video. But how long does it last? I can't. I can only really play a couple of minutes of other people's videos. Otherwise, we can have a problem. So, how long does it last, Kathy? Because you could. No, I can't play that, Kathy. Can you? You're gonna have to tell us. I can't play 15 minutes of someone else's video. I wouldn't do that. No, I can't. I just can't. You know, YouTube have already told me off. So no, I won't. I can't do that. Let's think of another way. Can you tell them about that conversation as best as you can? Right. Let's have a look. YouTube are on my case at the moment, so we do have to be careful. You know, I can recommend what we'll do. We'll just recommend that people go to it and watch it. So Rare Elvis Photos has a video, and I'm going to tell you the title of it. Let's click on the video. That Kathy is obviously friends with Dari and Desiree. She sent me a video that will help explain things to you guys. About things. There we are. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let me just get it up. Here we go. Now I'm going to click on the video. So it said I'm going to go to 4 minutes 15.
I feel like I'm saying bye, but I'm not. Okay, so this is one of the most interesting parts of this book. Besides Elvis, of course, and this is probably one of the most commented on things. I'm going to read this, and then we're going to read through the information.
So I'm just going to show you the video. I can't play it, and then we're going to start reading chapter 5. Even that, I can only read so much of it. So this is the video that Kathy recommends. It's obviously Rare Elvis Photos, Joe Sins. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Joe, and he has put some serious work into this book. Oh, Nancy just messaged me. I want to tell her that we're live. We're live now. So look, we're live now. Okay, so I've just told her. Let's go back to Joe's video. So Joe's video is called Elvis and Lucy, a letter from Lucy to Barben and some proof of John Wayne. Yeah. So Kathy is basically saying, jump over, have a little listen to it. Okay. But I'm not going to play other people's stuff now because I get told off. So Elvis and Lucy, a letter from Lucy to Barben. Not very clear, but okay, so as more people join us, obviously Kathy's here to ask questions, and she can answer questions on behalf of Dari Matira, the author of the book Are You Lonesome Tonight? My view at the moment is that we should keep an open mind and just listen. Just listen. We're not doing any harm to Elvis by discussing this book. So, you know, so I do get some backlash. I do get some negative comments about this book, but I just want you to know, guys, you decide, believe or not believe, or impartial, or just not interested. You decide. You decide. Let me just shut that door a minute. Right, sorry. All right, okay. Did you tell her what's happened?
Oh, she knows.
Oh, she knows. Okay, her mum would have rung her. Right, okay, so right, I'm just going to start reading, guys. Chapter 5. Now, you know my reading is crapo, so I do have permission to read this book from Kathy and Dari. So I don't want any horrible, nasty messages from YouTube. Now, of course, a lot of you will watch this later when you get up, so let's just try and enjoy it. Now, how many pages? I'm not promising to read the whole chapter. I'm just going to start reading, and we'll just see how it goes. And it's quite an interesting book, I'll tell you that. It's not super long, but it is a bit long. You know I can't read, guys. Back in the hotel, we talked late into the night. Elvis continued to outline his plan for success. He was obsessive about it. I won't let anybody stop me. If they knock me down, I'll get right back up. That's the only way to do it, he said. I know what it's like to have nothing. I want to prove to you that I can do it. You don't have to prove anything to me, I said. I know how wonderful you are, not only because I love you, but because you have a special gift. Just remember, don't ever leave God out of your life. He will always guide you. Please promise me you'll do that. I will, if you promise not to let anything separate us. I froze with fear. That was a promise I could never make. Elvis gently stroked my face and cupped his hands over my ears as he had before. I felt as if he was sending his love through his palms. From now on, I'll put my hand over my ear when I'm performing to remind me that you love me, he said. Hi, Philinola. He said to the phone. No, he went to the phone and called home, telling his mother that he was all right and would be staying over with his friend. He spoke to her gently and lovingly, and she was so concerned about him. But he was able to convince her that he was okay. After speaking to her, he went to the window and opened the curtains to let in the moonlight. We can't shut out our friend, he said. He turned, then came to me again. He slowly loosened my gown and let it drop to the floor. Your breasts are like ripe peaches, covered with dew in the morning, he said. Soft and beautiful. After that, he always wanted me to wear peach-colored clothes. He asked how I felt about him, and I was too shy to say that everything about him was perfect. His lean, young body was so different from the repulsive horror of the man. So in case you're just joining us, Kathy is here to answer any questions about this book. Okay, guys? I woke up early next morning. He was next to me, lying face down, one leg sprawled out across the bed. I lay there for a few minutes, feeling the warmth of his body, recalling our night together. I didn't want to wake him up because he tried to keep me from going. I slipped out of bed and went into the bathroom and quietly gathered up my things. I slid off my batiste gown, put on white slacks, and fished a fresh red knit blouse out of the towel bag. I tiptoed into the bedroom, glancing over at him to make sure that he was asleep. He had drifted into the center of the bed and his leg was all twisted up in the yellow bedspread. He was clutching his pillow so tightly that it made me think that he slept with a teddy bear when he was younger. I sat down at a small wooden table that wobbled, looked into the drawer and found a few sheets, hotel stationery. I also found a pen with the name of Memphis restaurant stamped on it in gold letters. I read the inscription on the pen and began visualizing what the restaurant might look like. Doing everything but writing a note, what could I write? I couldn't give him my home number or address. I couldn't even say that I'd call him because I wasn't sure where to reach him. I stared down at the stationery and realized that this was the best 24 hours of my life were coming to an end and they might never be repeated. Right. I heard him stir and was afraid that he was going to wake up. He shifted again. His light brown hair fell down over his forehead. He looked better that way, with his hair slicked back, which was how he wore it. I noticed again how dark his eyebrows were and the strange way that his upper lip dipped down in the center like a heart. I wanted to kiss him but couldn't risk waking him. Maybe I could just creep over and touch his face one last time. I tried to write, but the pen wouldn't work. I turned the paper over and scribbled some lines on the bottom until the blue ink finally flowed. I thought about the restaurant again. Was the food as bad as its pen? Silly though, but I was trying hard to keep from writing what could be my last goodbye. I never wrote the note. Elvis the sneak had been awake all along. Watching me tiptoeing around, he leaped out of bed, naked, scaring me to death, then roared out a laugh. He took his arms and kissed me and then began to tickle me. Where are you going? He said. Why you get dressed? He basically said, why did you get dressed? He helped me away and looked at me. You're as pretty in the morning as you are last night. I loved his compliment, but was embarrassed by being caught trying to slip away. I fumbled an explanation and finally blaming the plane schedules. I'm going to drive you to the airport, honey, he said, but first I've got to go home. I'll be right back. He pulled on his pants and his black and white buckskin loafers and slid his arms into his blue cowboy shirt, leaving it unbuttoned. He rushed out the door. He was gone then 30 minutes. I hadn't even finished gathering my things before he blew back into the room. He was wearing a jacket and a different shirt, a red one, but it was still unbuttoned. The whole way to the airport, Elvis talked excitedly about our future. I was his official girlfriend, and that was that. I would soon be his wife. He would become a famous singer like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, or a gospel singer like Jake Hess, and we would live like royalty. I let myself accept the wonderful picture that he was painting. We got to the airport much too soon. Our parting was brief and happy, and beginning instead of an ending, at least in his eyes. Can you come back next weekend? Hi, Diana. I don't think so. It's hard for me to get away. That's okay. I'll be in Monroe again. There's a country music down there. I'm trying to get them to let me sing. I'm sure they'd let you perform. You'd be good. You said tell them that. But don't worry, I'll be around Monroe a lot. He said, we'll see each other. Climbing up the dimpled metal stairs into the steel grey airplane was like walking to the gallows. I looked back and saw Elvis standing at the gate. He was smiling and waving, with his shirt was still unbuttoned. At 18, he was vibrant, happy boy, becoming a man. It's an image I'll never forget. I waved back and then turned and entered the plane. Inside the cabin and seats were dull and grey. The plane was as dismal as the life to which I was returning. Okay, guys? Okay, so if any of you want to ask questions about this book, Kathy is here to answer questions. I'll be so happy. And now this airplane with the black-tipped propeller was taking me away. The walkway to my house on Jackson Drive in Monroe was dotted with freshly fallen acorns. I will say this, Kathy, this is something that worries me a little bit. I know that she had a diary. I've been told about the diary, yeah? But it's so very detailed. It's very, very, very detailed. You know, when she mentions, you know, the acorns and the that bit worries me, that it's so detailed. Okay, but you know, that's just my little thing. So the cement path led to 3 concrete steps, you know, things like that. 3 concrete steps with a whitewashed wood banister lining each side. That's a bit too much detail. That makes me wonder. Yeah, anyway. I had insisted on the railings for the children's safety, framing the windows with dark grey shutters. I had painted myself. It was a beautiful house and I hated every part of it. I stood in the front hall and listened. The quiet was unsettling. Mother and children should have been there. I put down my bag and called out for them, but there was no reply. I walked into the master room and my heart froze, as it always did when I entered that room. No matter what I did to make the room pretty and cheerful, it always chilled me because of what happened to me in there. There were 6 windows. The white lace curtains were pulled tightly to let the maximum amount of light inside. The dark oak floor was brightened by a woven white rug. The bed was covered with white powder blue chintz spread, matching dust ruffles, and half a dozen blue and white throw pillows. Right, let's just read Kathy's comment. It's detailed because he saw him so infrequently that the psychologist that saw her said you remember every detail and every word you love so much that you didn't see often. I see that, but this is very, very detailed. Like, this is extremely detailed. So I want to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of books. Hi, Diana. I decorated the walls with my own artwork and knitted designs of brightly colored trees and flowers. There were no picture frames because of the sharp edges. I usually kept fresh flowers on the small night table to the left of the bed, along with blue porcelain pitcher and bowl. In the corner was a dark prayer bench, and I found in a flea market. I worked for weeks standing and varnishing it until it shone like new. Over the bed was a picture of Christ encased in a bubble of glass. Dried red and blue flowers were trapped inside the bubble. I put it there thinking that the man wouldn't be so mean with Jesus looking down at him. The man suddenly walked out of the bathroom. That explained why the children were gone. He'd come back home unexpectedly while I was in Memphis. He was in his sleeveless undershirt and his face was red and twisted with rage. His thinning red hair hung down over his eyes in a V-shaped clump, making him look even more horrible. I braced myself for what was coming, and I wouldn't break. No matter how much he beat me, I'd die before confessing anything. Where have you been? Okay, let's keep going, guys. It's quite interesting, I'll say that. Let's just keep going with it. So, you guys know that I'm... all right, it's just my daughter, don't worry. Let's have a look. Hi, Josie. So don't forget, Kathy's here if you want to ask her any questions about the book. She represents Desiree Matera, the author. I felt the familiar pain as his fist crashed into my face, only the blow was harder and hurt more than ever. The force of the punch knocked me down into the plaster wall, and I stayed on my feet. Staying up was crucial. It was the only dignity I had. I know you've been dancing with your sinful body, luring men to lust for you through this wicked dancing. He talked like the fire and brimstone preacher that he listened to in Mississippi. The meaning, however, was clear. He had found out about the television show. I dreaded this moment, but expected it and had my answer prepared. The purpose of the awful marriage was to help my career. I never got the chance to say it. He punched me again, then grabbed my shoulders and threw me against the wall. He paused for a moment, assessing the damage. He stormed over and slapped me back and forth again and again. Then in an instant, it was over. He was gone. I stood in the corner, fighting to remain on my feet. It wasn't his blows that now weakened my legs. It was the humiliation. I saw blood on my blouse and just above my left breast. I realized why he had stopped. My blood had become ritual signal that he had accomplished his task. I reached up to determine where I was bleeding and discovered that both my mouth and nose had given him his satisfaction. I remained rigid against the wall, searching my mind for some peg to hold on to. There was one. It had an immediate calming effect. The pain eased, the tension left my body, and I walked over to the shining prayer bench and slowly knelt down. I clasped my hands together and brought them to my face. Dear God, thank you for letting him find out about Elvis. No, thank you for not letting him find out about Elvis. That's all I ask. Allow me that one secret. So then we go, dear God, thank you. With renewed courage, I got up from the bench and walked the long, narrow bathroom to deal with my injuries. I lifted both hands to open the white shuttered doors of the medicine cabinet. All the bandages and medicines were neatly in place. A trace of dried blood was on the edge of the gauze rod, a reminder of my last beating. The orange iodine stung as it touched my nose, but I was used to it. I had played these scenes so many times before. The man left the next day. I went to see a lawyer about a divorce. He was a pleasant young man named Billy Adams, tall and thin, with thick, sandy blonde hair. I explained little and why I wanted a divorce, only that my husband wasn't around. I think desertion was listed as the official grounds. I was too afraid to put anything about my physical and mental cruelty into writing. Mr. Adams informed me that if the man didn't contest, it would cost around $380. I didn't have anything close to that, but he said it wouldn't have to be paid until the divorce was final. He also told me to be patient. Divorces were easy in the 1950s. Divorces weren't easy in the 1950s, especially for a 17-year-old. After he finished explaining, Mr. Adams offered me a part-time job in his office. I thanked him and declined. Right, so there's a note here. Is it the author? Billy Adams, a colourful sort who pulls no punches, continues to practice law in Monroe. I remember Lucy like it was yesterday. He said it was one of my very first divorce cases. I'm sitting in my office and in walks one of the best looking women I've ever seen in my life. What she told me about the guy never being around shocked me plumb out of my chair. You had to see her to understand what I'm saying. She had it all, everything a man would dream about in a woman. Beauty, body, brains, poise, personality, bearing, class, the works. It defied reason that anyone would desert her. Adams arranged a separation based on Louisiana's bed and board law, meaning the couple was no longer living together. They had to continue on that basis for a year in order to pass the law's no reconciliation condition. Okay, guys, you keep asking Kathy questions. She's speaking on behalf of the author of this book. I knew that I had to do more than file some papers to save myself, and soon the contrast was too much. Elvis was heaven. Home was hell. 2 weeks later, I received another phone call at Silverstein's. It upset me when I was motioned to the phone. The Mr. Music show had been on air a few months now, and men who'd seen me dancing sometimes recognized me in the store. The bolder one would call. When I politely turned down, a few became abusive. The phone was out in the open, and the sales lady could hear both sides of the conversation if they strained, which they usually did. He has a real nice voice, the woman said, and she handed me the receiver. I hesitated and then took the phone. Is it okay to keep calling you here? It was Elvis. It wasn't okay. It was too risky, but I wanted to talk to him. It's okay for now, for a little while. Could you meet me in Shreveport next Saturday? I'm going to Louisiana hayride. I'm trying to get on the Shreveport. It was only 105 miles from Monroe. I had to go and tell him the truth. It wasn't fair to lead him on. Elvis told me to go directly to the motel where he was planning to stay. He said it was easy to find, just off the main highway near the military base. I couldn't miss it. I arranged to have my mother take care of my daughters and told her that I had another modeling assignment. Driving the burgundy convertible, I left for Shreveport in the early afternoon and dressed in black jumping pants with a matching knit sweater. The motel was easy to find. It had glaring red and blue neon sign outside the front that said IDA Motel, and something similar, probably the name of the owner, as a long lost love. It was a seedy place, about 30 rooms, with flaking white paint trimmed in the peeling pea green. Ida couldn't have been too impressed. Elvis was standing outside in the parking lot when I arrived. He was also dressed in black, including a cowboy shirt and a bright red neckerchief, a must for any aspiring country singer in those days. His pants were baggy and his shoes were white. His hair looped down across his forehead the way I liked it, and his sideburns were thicker than one I had seen him in Memphis. He was standing with another man in stocky dark blonde fellow who was smoking a cigarette. As I got out of the car, the blonde man let out a shrill wolf whistle. It unnerved me, so much I jumped back in. Get out here, Elvis shouted at the man pushing him away. Don't you have any respect? I didn't get out of the car until the man was out of sight. Elvis ran over, hugged me, apologized about the whistle. I stiffened when he embraced me. He sensed something was wrong. He took my hand and led me to the semi-secluded spot behind the motel. I guess I should check into the room, I said. I already have a room for us. The edge in his voice told me that he was offended that I had assumed we'd stay together. That bothered me because meeting in a tacky motel made me feel cheap. A beautiful hilltop was one thing, but Ida's palace wasn't exactly Tara. Just meet me here, he said, handing me a plastic key holder. You go first and I'll come a few minutes later. I walked down the rows of doors until I found the right one. The key didn't seem to fit. I double-checked that the key against the fading number on the door, it matched. I tried the key again and it finally worked. The first thing that hit me was the smell. It was a rug. Let's have a look. The first thing that hit me was the smell. It was a rug. Years of humid Louisiana summers had given it an unpleasant, musty odor. The double bed was covered with a flimsy brown spread that was threadbare from washing. Elvis came in about 15 seconds later, hardly discreet. His presence changed the entire room. It was as if a warm light had flashed on, softening all the hard edges. He held me. I inhaled his nice, clean smell. I didn't know if it was his soap or his hair tonic. He carried in a tall, skinny bottle with his shiny silver top, but it was always enough to drown out the rug. I fought to keep my emotions in check. I didn't want him to know I'd gone through since the last time we were together, but I was determined to tell him the truth. When he pulled back to kiss me, I stopped and startled by my tears. He was startled by my tears. Okay. Am I missing any comments here, guys? Right. Where are we? Where are we? Come on. His blue eyes. Hang on. Here we go. Hey, what's all this? Did you miss me that much? When I didn't smile, he realized I was serious. What? What's the matter? His blue eyes were wide, demanding and full of fear. He hated rejection. Rejection was something that he was constantly forced to face. He'd pour out his soul, compounding off the stage, and then have some bored booking agent tell him he lacked talent. He braced himself for rejection from me. Honey, come here, he said, hugging me. I love you. Nothing's going to change that. Instead of comforting me, the words stirred my guilt. Let's have a look. The words stirred my guilt. I've only got a few minutes left. I could handle the pain. My life was full of it. But to inflict pain on this sweet person would be awful. I was trapped, forced to hurt the only man I ever loved. He sensed my concern and kissed me gently. My lips, my whole body trembled. What is it? He whispered. I have a story to tell you, I said, choking with tears. Once there was a very young girl who lived in a convent, and one day her grandmother came and said the girl was to be someone's wife. A deal had been made. It was all agreed upon and settled. The girl couldn't do anything about it. He was silent for a moment, confused, and suddenly he understood. He started to say something, but nothing came out. I've wanted to tell you so many times, I said. I didn't know if you would understand, if you would hate me. Elvis turned and walked over to the bed. It creaked. As he sat down, he buried his face in his hands. I never saw the man before. They made me marry him. I continued. I was only 11. It was all arranged. I don't love him. I never have. He's awful. I couldn't go on. Through my tears, I caught a glimpse of his face. The lamp reflected in his watery eyes. His breathing became quick as the hurt and confusion built into anger. He shot up off the bed and slammed his fist into the wall. No, 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 he shouted, hitting it again and again. Who is this bastard? I couldn't bear to talk about my ugly life. Elvis, you're the only one I gave myself to willingly. He'll never have that. He grabbed and hugged me close in his arms. We both cried as we held on to each other. You belong to me, he said, holding me tighter. I tried to get away, and after I was married, I went to a priest and I couldn't stand it anymore. I begged him to help me, but the priest wouldn't listen. He told me I was immature. He told me to go home and be good. Elvis broke away and began pacing the room. Things are starting to go well for me, he lied. I want you out there. I'll take care of you. This hasn't changed anything. I love you. I want you with me. Nothing else matters. I was comforted by his words, but I knew Elvis really was struggling. He was in no position to support a family, and I hadn't even told him about my 2 children. If he was to have any chance of success, he had to be free to go after it. I couldn't burden him with the children when he needed to pour his money and energy into his career. He stopped pacing and sat on the bedside. He kissed me softly. It was his signal that our love survived. Let me let the dog out. I thought you were happy. My mate. Right, go on then. Go and have a wheezy wazzy. So, yeah, those dogs have been really quiet until now. Right, I couldn't burden him with the children when he needed to pour his money and energy into his career. He stopped pacing and sat on the bed beside me. He kissed me softly. It was his signal that our love had survived my shocking revelation. It was something for me to hold on to, a spark of promise. I reminded him of our marriage vows on the hilltop in Memphis and told him that I still meant every word. I smiled for the first time in hours. You have your career to go after, I said. You mustn't let anything stop you. Don't worry, it will work out between us. We talked for the rest of the day, and late into the night, I told him more about my life, starting again with my father's unexpected death and the trouble it caused my family, and how my grandmother believed that the only way out was to barter me. Elvis was understanding for the most part, but became furious whenever he thought of me with the older man. He threatened to kill the man, but he was just expressing his anger. He wanted me out of the marriage, and spent and exhausted, we fell asleep on the thin brown bedspread, still dressed in our matching black outfits. So this bit's Desiree. So Shreveport was the pivotal city in Elvis's career. The Louisiana Hayride was second only to the Grand Ole Opry. And as the most important country and Western music showcase in America, it was just 5 years old at the time and was already dubbed the Cradle of the Stars, because it had launched the careers of Hank Williams, Webb Price, Slim Whitman, Jim Reeves, Farron Young, and dozens of others. The biggest career and the Louisiana Hayride would launch was Elvis Aaron Presley. Da, da, da. But that was still a year away. In the fall of 1953, Elvis was even more of a fixture in Shreveport than he was in Monroe. Richard Wilcox, the current station manager of KN0E or KNOE radio in Monroe, was the sales manager of KWKA in Shreveport at the time. KWKA was the station that produced the Hayride, the broadcast, and broadcasted to Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. The Hayride bands would rehearse at the big studio that we had. I think this is all the author now, yeah? At KWKA. And Elvis would ride the bus from Memphis all night so he could watch, then jam on Saturday mornings. Wilcox explained, I think he started coming as early as 1952. I saw him hanging around the stations dozens of times. So basically, Elvis would hang around the stations, yeah, in 1952. That's what she's saying, yeah. Billie Jean Horton, the salty widow of Hank Williams, and Johnny Horton was a friend of Elvis then. She still lives in Shreveport. Hell, Elvis was just wandering around Shreveport all of the time in 1952 and 1953. Sometime around then, I can't remember, but it was long before they let him go on. Billie Jean told me he was driven back and forth from Memphis for years, begging, borrowing, and pleading. We were about the same age, so we were friends. I used to give Elvis $1 that I could afford so he could have his white pants cleaned. I gave him lots of dollars, and it was usually my last dollar. I wasn't sweet on him. I was a damn good-looking lady, and I had my pick of the hayride litter. But if I had a buck, I'd give it to him. That's what you did back then. You helped people. Elvis's cousin, Eugene Smith, sometimes traveled with Elvis to Shreveport in the early days. I remember he had a little girl somewhere along the road in Louisiana, but not in Shreveport. Smith said, I think her name was Lucy. And yeah, I definitely remember Lucy. Never got to see her, though. No one did. Elvis wouldn't talk about her much. That's it. Chapter 5 is done, guys. So It's a nice story, isn't it, guys? It's a nice story. Your messaging has gone very quiet. So, Kathy, are you still there? Are you guys still there? You've all gone very quiet. So what did you think, guys? You went very quiet on me, which tells me you're enjoying it. Yeah, I thought so, Denise. Now, we're going to read every chapter. We're going to do it over the next 2, 3, 4 days because I've got permission to read that book. So I'm going to make the most of it. We have had some other books delivered, so we can do reviews on the other books, but reading them page for page, I need to get the permission of the authors, which is fine, because don't forget we do loads of other things as well as reading. So is anyone convinced or not convinced that it's true? I'm interested to know opinions, guys. I know there's not that many of us here at the moment. I know many of you will watch this later. So Finola, what did you think? I can see Denise enjoyed it. Is Kathy still here? That's what Helen with her diary and okay, yeah. So Songbird is like it's not for her. To me, at the moment for me, it's just a nice story. So that's where I am with it. But I do think it's good to get it all out there, see what different people think. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on it? Not so. Helen says she's not sure, needs more evidence. Okay, so we're going to just carry on reading. Kathy will join us when she can. Finola, I have to agree with the too descriptive bit. It's very, 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 very detailed. In certain sections, the detail is minute. That worries me. I agree. We must have evidence. I think Finola, it's a nice story. I haven't had any evidence that convinces me yet, but I'm still open for reading all of the book and seeing your responses with the help of Kathy. And I thank Desiree for letting me read it. Josie, I understand she used the diary and that would help her with the detail. I understand that. I take that on board. Yeah, like Kathy says, go over and watch Joe's videos because he does go through everything. Right, let me just let the dog out, otherwise he's going to keep barking for the next 10 years. Right. Okay, so I will say this with Joe's videos. Obviously, he's very, very detailed. He's done a lot of interviews with Desiree. He has spoken to Desiree. He's done a lot of research. He's been evidence hunting as well, just like we all are. I can't say that the things that Joe is saying is truth, because a lot of what he says is not proven. Yeah, I completely respect that Desiree did. Of course, Desiree. I do believe that Desiree thinks it's true. I do believe that. I believe Desiree believes it. There's even a possibility that Lucy believe. Not Lucy. Sorry, that Desiree believes it as well. But I don't know, do I, guys? I don't know. None of us were there, so we read it, and we learn as we go. Is there anyone here that has been listening that has changed their mind? Is there anyone? It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So Finola says Desiree might have visited the places. I think we know where we are, don't we, guys? So I'm going to have to go. Thank you for letting me read it to you. Chapter 5 of the book Are You Lonesome Tonight? I've had the sun in my face for an hour. I'm sorry about that. Like here, yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more lives. I'm going off with the kids now. We're having a bit of a Christmas time. So if I do a live, it'll be tonight. It'll be like 7, 8 o'clock British time. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Yeah, I mean, that is, the whole story is fascinating. But I've got to go, guys. Got to go. So, okay, Songbird, yep, send me a song. And thanks, everyone, for joining me at Team Elvis. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Kathy, for all your help. Obviously, Kathy's very busy, yeah? But I'm sure that the next time we go on, if she's available, she'll join us. I can't give a time. It'll probably, the next time we read this book will probably be tomorrow, yeah? So British time around 9:30 a.m. If Kathy's around, hopefully, it is important to me that Kathy helps us. And with the permission of Dari, and I'll keep watching Joe Sins at Rare Elvis Photos and just try and get a better feel for the book. So good luck, guys. Team Elvis, we rock. Team Elvis rule. Yay. Take care, guys. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, everyone. Sending you all love. Bye, guys.